Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This video is one of the videos that I'll be posting to help you learn math. In this video, you will learn about triangle congruence. We say that two triangles are congruent if and only if the corresponding sides and the corresponding angles are congruent. So to help you learn this one, you have to remember the mnemonics CPCTC, or corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Let's take a look at this example. In this case, let's assume that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle QRS. So the symbol for congruency or congruence is this one. It's like an equal sign with a broken line at the top. So in this case, we can now determine the corresponding vertices, corresponding angles, and corresponding sides. So correspondents are the ones who have equal sides and equal angles. So in this case, A corresponds, or point A corresponds to point Q. So we see that point A corresponds to point Q. So using the symbol for correspondence, which is this one. And we can also say that point B corresponds to point R. And finally, we have point C corresponds to point S. For the corresponding angles, we have angle A corresponds to angle Q. So angle A corresponds to angle Q. So as I mentioned earlier, corresponding angles and corresponding sides are also congruent because, as we mentioned earlier, we assume that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle QRS. So let's continue. Triangle B is or corresponds to angle B corresponds to angle R, which means they're also congruent. It's this one and this one. And we also have angle C corresponds and is congruent to angle S. Okay. This time, let's proceed to giving or getting the corresponding sides. For the corresponding sides, we have segment AB or side AB corresponds and is congruent to segment QR. So in symbol, it should be like this. Line segment AB corresponds to line segment QR. Next, we have BC is or corresponds to RS. Okay, always remember that when we're writing corresponding segments or sides, we also have to consider the corresponding vertices. Say for example, for AB, since we started with A, which corresponds to Q, we then have to correspond it with QR, which means we have to start with Q as well. And it shouldn't be like AB corresponds to RQ, because in that case, that would only mean that A corresponds to R, and that's not what it's like in here. So again, AB corresponds to QR and BC corresponds to RS. And finally, we have AC corresponds to QS. Let's take a look at this another example. So in here we assume that triangle NAT is congruent to triangle GEO, or in other words, you can also say that triangle NAT corresponds to triangle GEO. So let's get the corresponding vertices, angles, and sides. So in this case, we have point N corresponds to point G. Okay. Next, we have A corresponds to E or point E. And we have point T corresponds to point O. Next, we have the corresponding angles. We have angle N corresponds to angle G. Angle A corresponds to angle E. And finally, angle T corresponds to angle O. You can also pause this video so that you can also try answering the next questions before you proceed to playing the video. Next, we have the corresponding sides. We have segment NA corresponds to segment GE. Then we also have AT corresponds to EO. And finally, we have NT corresponds to GO. Alright, that's it. I hope you learn in this video, and I'll also upload some more videos. So do not forget to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment for the next lesson that you want to learn about. See you in the next video.